Today in the Smuggler's Room, we're bringing an end to the insanity of the most geeked out, nerdtastic, and dare I say, most Star Wars paint booth in this galaxy? I'm pretty sure it is. Either way, let's get this thing finished, because that's coming up. What's up, you awesome geeks? I'm Brian, and welcome to the Smuggler's Room. This week, this chubby geek is bringing an end to the insanity. Now, if you haven't seen part 1 of our DIY homemade spray booth, paint booth, whatever booth, then you're going to want to check that out. Now, when we started this paint booth project, I initially said, we can do this in a week. And when I say we, I mean me, because Carissa absolutely knew it was going to take me longer. And it has. Well over a month. Having said that, we're finished. Well, we're mostly finished. We're finished enough. Now, I hope you have a cold beverage and a bucket of popcorn, because now we're about to finish this thing. Let's get to it.
Yeah, baby. We're bringing you some smooth, slow sealing.
Okay, enough of that. Basically, we added some caulk to the inside of the booth to make sure it was airtight. As tight as we can get it. Next, we churned out a variety of parts on the laser cutter to add details to the exterior of the booth. I wanted this to resemble something that had a lot of functionality to it. Many of the set pieces you see in sci-fi films, well, they leave me wondering, what does that do? How does that work? And what is all of that stuff? It gives a layer of depth and it tells a story. That's what I wanted with this piece. Now, I don't want everything on the paint booth to be laser cut, so I dug into my greebly bins to find as many interesting objects as I can. This piece, for example, I think it came to us by our buddy Jay Irick. I'm not sure exactly what it was for, but it has a great look to it. And then, of course, there's the heat sinks, which are always the right decision. I wanted to find objects that I could set in the recesses of the openings. Having a recessed area sells it better than if the item is just bolted or glued to the surface. One thing specifically that I've learned is not to let the material dictate anything. So for example, we've got all these various holes of different sizes. None of them the right size for the bolt I want to use. In a lot of cases in the past, I would have just tried to find something else to use. But in this case, we can drill it out for the right size of the bolt we need. That probably seems pretty obvious, or fairly obvious, but it was one of the things I learned early on was that I would let the limitations of the material I'd found dictate what I could do with it, instead of thinking, well, I could just drill a hole in it, or I could cut it, or I could modify it. We can punch those through. I am doing this a little bit on the rough side as far as the masking. So obviously all these little ridges, as I spray, you're gonna get some overspray. The reason I'm doing it so rough is because I kind of want to take advantage of that. I want to have this be kind of one of those, you know, they just marked it, right? The container that they made this booth out of, or that we're making this booth out of, it's just kind of quickly marked. And so the overspray is part of it. And then when we do weathering and things, we'll kind of blend it all together. Just kind of doing that on purpose. I'm going to use this red rust primer. Intention is to have this look kind of on purpose, but I think we're going to have to, once we weather it and stuff, we'll be able to determine whether that looks right or not. I'm undecided at this point. This basically is a little plastic grommet with a silver knob in the center. Kind of a nice detail with a little bit of that red to match our sloppy design up there. Still unsure of. I really wanted to work on layers with this exterior of this booth. I also enlisted Carissa's help to help me with color. I find that I work a lot in gray, silver, and black. So this project, I wanted to go more with rust red, some creams, and then Carissa came up with the idea of a stripe and suggested I use the blue metallic paint. I got impatient, and I got my dirty fat fingers and scuffed the paint, that blue sparkle paint that's all in here. So I didn't let it dry and I got impatient. Yeah, that sucks. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna wait first of all before I do the other two, and then I will try to cover that mistake with some weathering and stuff, because we're gonna make this thing filthy, but I got impatient. A lot of the conduit parts and material you find at the big box store can really add another level to your sci-fi projects. I was able to cut down lengths of this metal flex conduit and use it with the couplings on both ends into the circular slots that were cut out. Again, adding intention and helping tell the story. Now these panels are for the front face of the booth. I wanted some of that iconic control panel look, so it had flashing LEDs and a bunch of other details. I drew them up in Illustrator, cut them out, and then we get them installed. Let me tell you that I'm pretty much obsessed with these M6 hex head bolts. They have a futuristic look for sure, and combined with the soft MDF, I'm basically able to thread the material. Since these are so lightweight and I don't have to worry about them coming loose, if I ever need to take the panel apart or replace it, I basically have a mechanical connection. Okay, let's talk a little bit more about the blower. This is a Dayton 265 CFM exhaust blower, and it's incredibly quiet. I just built a crude base out of scrap MDF with the hole in the center. Then I cut out rings to reduce the main hole down to a 3-inch size for the tube that I have. I chose to have this tube exposed to add a little decor to the inside of the project. That said, I'll be honest, I'm not 100% sure that this tube is large enough. I may need to go to the 4.5-inch tube, but that requires more testing first. I need to learn how well the blower, the filter compartment, and the tube size works currently before I make any changes. The electrical connections on the blower are very straightforward. There's a grounding screw for your ground wire, and then there are 2 additional wires for the motor that you connect your hot and neutral to. For this motor specifically, the instruction manual illustrated how to connect the hot and the neutral, so make sure you inspect your blower's instruction manual before wiring yours. Now to cut my flex metal conduit, yeah, I busted out an angle grinder with a cutoff wheel for the first time. You might call this overkill, but I call it fun. Lighting inside the paint booth is critical. I also want a traditional warm light, so I found these 3 warm LED puck lights at the big box store. They install super easy and give off a nice wash of light to the entire booth. Boy, do I ever wish building drawers was that quick. There's nothing particularly difficult about the drawers I made, but I'm impatient, and building 8 drawers takes longer than I would like. This diffuser material was a great find. I needed something inside the booth so that I could hang props to spray, but also pass the light through. So for $6, this was the way. Now, if you saw our assembly table build, then you've certainly seen us make drawer faces before. If you haven't seen that project, then you may want to check it out. This was a different design that we created in Illustrator and then cut out on the laser, much like we did for the assembly table. I really love this process, as I can cut out all of the design and then add and remove sections to create interest, using that negative space. So far, I'm really pleased with how this is turning out. I have a rather complicated relationship with drawers. Alright, there it goes. Why doesn't that fit right? How could you be that far off? Seriously? We're rubbing against the side of that? What are you, mounted in there crooked? Well, it's just gonna only go in so far. I mean, that's just the way it's gonna be. If you're not gonna play along, you're just gonna be the weird drawer. I mean, I can live with it. You're just the weird drawer. That's all there is to it, just another weird drawer. No, I can't live with that. I can't live with that drawer. That's all I'm gonna see, is that drawer. I'm not a cabinet maker, so I don't have perfect drawers. Not all of them are gonna line up the way I want them to. But overall, I can live with it, I think. So let's just get the rest of this project done. This piece is the cover for our power supply unit. I saw Bill Duran from Punish Props use this on his spray booth, and I purchased it immediately, knowing that I'd be including this in mine. So thanks, Bill. The great thing about this piece is I can control the entire paint booth from one spot. Lights, blower, air compressor, and so on. It really makes everything convenient. And hey, speaking of Bill and Punish Props, I also want to mention Bob from I Like to Make Stuff. Both of these channels have built some great DIY spray booths. I encourage you to check these builds out as well. We want to make sure you have as many resources to consider if you're planning on building a spray booth of your own. We'll put their links to their builds in the description below. Give those a look. Inside the booth, we designed dual side panels that would slide in and out. The intention is that these were going to help with overspray if needed. Now, I'm not sure how well this will work, but it seems like a solid idea. That said, I could not bear to leave these plain, so I used a combination of leftover pieces from drawer faces and some cool vent designs that I straight up stole from the Odd Viking, Cullen Adams, on Instagram. If you've not seen his Stormtrooper armor bin build, then you need to. It's fantastic. Link in the description below. Thanks for the idea, Colin. Okay, my friends, let's talk weathering a bit here. Now, in the past, I've weathered pretty much every project I've done. My feeling is nothing is clean in the used universe. But let me tell you something. My weathering next to my lovely wife's approach to grime is in the junior league all the way. I told Carissa I wanted this booth filthy. Like we pulled it out of a trash compactor after a Wookiee took a bath in it filthy. And she did not disappoint. What I really love about the work she did is it's the variety of colors and depths she created. You may not love a filthy, dirty prop, but when I look at this thing, it comes alive.
He's right there.
Whoa! Now this was a monster project for us, and there are elements like the drawer pulls, drawer organization, and drawer labels that are not done yet. But we'll get there. Some of you reached out asking, how are you going to manage spraying in that thing once it's done? Maybe that's because you're worried I won't want to spray into the booth after all this work. That's how I feel about it. It's a paint booth, and it's made for painting, and that's only going to add to the texture and the storytelling. So yeah, I gotta get back to work, but we'll see you the next time we build something out of nothing.